Krakow, the ancient capital of Poland, the city of art and many churches, the city of saints, the city of the Saint John Paul II. It's hard to imagine the city without John Paul II. How it's hard to imagine life of John Paul II without Krakow. Tomasz Walczyk, the city guide of Krakow. I'd like to invite you for a special tour of the main official tourist routes. I'd like to show you places that are maybe less beautiful but very important, because these are places when Karol Wojtyla abandoned his original plans to work for Polish people as a man of art, as a poet and actor. Instead of this, he decided to become a priest who worked for Polish nation and for the all humankind. Welcome to Krakow of the Second World War in times of Karol Wojtyla. End of summer 1938. Karol Wojtyla came from the small town of Wadowice to Krakow. He lived in the house of his uncle, Robert Kaczorowski, at number 10 Tyniecka Street in the Tyniecka District. He lived with his father, also Karol, who had come earlier to arrange the apartment. In October, he began studies at the Faculty of Polish Philology at the Jagiellonian University. He wanted to become a poet and actor, creating work for Poland in the field of art. Less than a year has passed. The invasion of the German army and the outbreak of World War II in September 1939 thwarted Karol's plans, as did many other Poles. The university was closed, and in November the professors were arrested and deported to the Sachsenhausen concentration camp. For young people not working, especially students like Karol Wojtyla, there was a risk of deportation to forced labor. Fortunately, he found people ready to help him. The mayor of a village near Krakow issued him a certificate of work as a laborer. In the fall of 1940, he started working in a quarry in Zakrzowek at soda solvay factory. Then, while still working for the same company, he was transferred to a soda treatment plant in Borek Wałęsky. The plant no longer exists, a few factory halls have been preserved, and the whole thing has been converted into a shopping center. After finishing work, Karol Wojtyla covered the long way home on foot. He often went to prayers in the convent of the Sisters of Our Lady of Mercy, not far from the factory. It was then that he had to hear for the first time about the message of divine mercy and about Sister Faustina Kowalska. Returning home from the factory in Borek, he had to pass by this small chapel, and probably at it had he stopped for a short prayer. When Karol Wojtyla returned home on February 18, 1941, he discovered that his father passed away. As a retired military man, he was buried in the military cemetery in Krakow, next to his wife Emilia and his elder son Edmund. The saddened Karol lived with his friends at the apartment for several weeks. The young worker did not give up his plans to work for the Polish nation as an artist. As schools and cultural institutions were banned for Poles by the occupant, this activity spilled over into the underground. In this house on Komorowskiego Street, in August 1949, a group of young people led by Mieczysław Kotlarczyk founded the underground Rhapsodic Theatre, which secretly organized performances in private homes. The future Holy Father attended Mass on Sunday at the parish church of the Tyniecka District, dedicated to Saint Stanisław Kostka. Here, in February 1940, he met an extraordinary man who influenced his whole life and his life choices. His name was Jan Tyranowski. He was an accountant by training, but he became a tailor because as a clerk he did not have enough time to deepen his spiritual life. Mr. Tyranowski invited young people to his home at number 11 Tyniecka Street to lead a living rosary circle, study scriptures and discuss. 11 participants of these meetings were to become priests in the future. Karol Wojtyla was among them. It was the meeting with Tyranowski that made Wojtyla discover the way of his vocation. He quit his job in the theater and followed the path of the Saint Friar Albert Chmielowski, an artist-painter who abandoned art to devote himself to the spiritual life as a monk and work among the poor and homeless. Instead of working for the Polish nation as an artist, he decided to work as a clergyman for Poles, for all mankind. Like the universities, the seminary was closed by the occupier. Fortunately, the Archbishop of Krakow, Prince Adam Sapieha, was a man of great fortitude and courage. He organized a conspirational seminar inside the Archbishop's palace. One of the first seminar participants was Karol Wojtyla. Thus began a new stage in the life of Saint John Paul II, the next point of which was to be his first Holy Mass, celebrated on November 2, 1946, after the end of the war. Our journey in the footsteps of Saint John Paul II from the wartime period will finish at the shrine of the Holy Father. It was created on a limestone rock, hence it is called the White Sea. Here, during the war, there were industrial waste dumps of the Soda Solvay factory. In the years 2007-2016, the Do Not Be Afraid Center was established here, which is a commemoration of the saint, but also a place of learning about his teaching. The sanctuary was built with contributions from the faithful and is the work of Polish-Italian artists. The mosaics of Father Marko Rupnik, with a rich theological message, draw special attention. In the lower level of the sanctuary, there are chapels that tell a story about the life and work of the Holy Father. The most important of this is the priestly chapel, inspired by the crypt of St. Leonard in the Wawel Cathedral, where Karol Wojtyla celebrated his first Mass. On the tombstone brought from the Vatican, from the tomb where John Paul II rested before his beatification, there is a reliquary in the shape of a missal with a drop of the saint's blood. This is where our story ends. But the story of the life and work of Saint John Paul II in Krakow is much longer. I invite you to Krakow to walk the paths of the Holy Father together.